The girl in the cold Jack's boots crunched through the snow. The wind howled across the empty alien planet, sharp like knives. His breath came out in clouds. White against the dark sky, his radio was dead. His team was gone, and the cold bit deeper every second. But Jack kept walking, hand on the heater unit strapped to his belt. He had to find shelter fast. That's when he saw the old building. Half covered in snow, metal walls rusted and broken. It looked abandoned. He stepped inside carefully, his flashlight cutting through the darkness. The walls were covered in strange alien writing, symbols he didn't understand. Something moved. Jack froze. His light landed on a small figure, curled up in the corner, shaking, covered in frost. It was a girl, not human. She was thin, her skin pale blue and covered in fine lines like glowing veins. Her eyes were large and silver, staring at him in fear. She didn't speak, just hugged herself tighter. Jack slowly raised his hands, showing he meant no harm. "Hey," he said softly. "It's okay. I won't hurt you." The girl didn't move. Her lips were purple from the cold. Jack looked at her, then at his pack. He reached in and pulled out his emergency blanket. It was warm, woven with human tech, meant to save lives in freezing conditions. He stepped closer, slowly. She flinched. "It's all right," he whispered. "You'll freeze if you stay like that." He placed the blanket near her feet and backed away. She stared at it, then at him, finally, with shaking hands. She picked it up and pulled it around her shoulders. Then something strange happened. Her skin began to glow, faintly at first. Then brighter, the veins on her arms lit up like tiny rivers of light. Jack stared, confused. The girl looked at him and spoke one word. "Warm." Her voice was soft and broken, like she hadn't spoken in a long time. Then she said, "You smell safe." Jack blinked. That wasn't what he expected. But the girl stopped shivering and her breathing slowed. The blanket worked. He took a step forward. And she didn't flinch this time. "I'm Jack," he said. "I'm lost, too." The girl tilted her head. He pointed at himself. "Jack," then pointed at her. "You?" She hesitated, then whispered, "Naya." Jack smiled a little. "Nice to meet you, Naya." They sat in silence for a while. The wind outside howled louder. Jack checked the door. Snow was piling fast. They wouldn't be able to leave tonight. He set up a small heater in the corner, near where Nia sat. She watched him carefully, like she didn't trust him yet, but didn't fear him either. Jack opened a food pack, offered her a bar. Nia sniffed it, then took a tiny bite. Her eyes lit up like it was the best thing she'd ever tasted. Jack laughed a little. "Guess you've been here a while." She nodded slowly. "Long time," she said, struggling with the words, "alone." Jack felt a knot in his stomach. This girl had been abandoned, left here to die. He didn't ask why. He could see it in her eyes. Pain, fear, hate, and something else. Hope, maybe later. When the heater made the room warmer, Jack leaned back against the wall. Naya sat across from him, watching. He asked, "You have family?" She shook her head. "Gone," she whispered. "All gone." Jack didn't know what to say, so he just nodded. Sometimes silence said more than words. Then, without warning, a strange mark appeared on Nia's wrist. It glowed the same color as the lines on her skin. Jack sat up. "What's that?" Nia looked down, confused. She touched the mark gently. "It means chosen," she said, almost afraid. "Chosen for what?" Jack asked. She didn't answer, just pulled the blanket tighter. Her eyes stared past him as if she heard something far away. Then she whispered, "They will come. When they see the light." Jack's blood went cold. "Who?" he asked. Nia looked at him, and for the first time, her eyes were full of tears. "The ones who made us." And outside, deep in the snow, something moved. watching, waiting, Jack woke early, though he hadn't slept much. The wind outside had grown quieter, but the cold was still there. He checked the heater low power, maybe 2 hours left. He stretched his arms and looked around the ruined building. Nia was gone. His heart jumped. He stood up fast, looking behind walls and broken crates. Then he heard it, a soft sound, like breathing, coming from the far corner. He turned and saw her, curled in a tight ball, holding the blanket close, eyes half open, glowing softly in the dark. She hadn't left. She'd just moved away in the night. He let out a breath, still safe. Jack packed his gear slowly, thinking hard. He needed to find his team, or a working tower. He couldn't stay here. But what about her? Nia watched him from the corner. She didn't say anything, didn't ask questions. Just stared, silent, as if waiting. When Jack stepped outside into the snow, he glanced back one last time. She didn't follow. He walked 5 steps into the white. 6, 7. Then stopped. Something didn't feel right. He turned. There she was, standing in the doorway. Barefoot in the snow, the blanket dragging behind her. Jack blinked. Nia. Go back inside. It's cold. She shook her head. I go? She said softly. With you? Jack frowned. This is dangerous, he said. I don't know where I'm going. She nodded slowly. I follow, and she did. Quietly, step by step, never speaking, never asking. Jack didn't know why. But he didn't stop her. For hours, they walked through the frozen land, white hills, broken towers, silent sky. Sometimes, Nia would stop and stare at strange stones in the snow, black and marked with alien writing. She touched them like they were memories, but said nothing. When Jack slipped and fell into soft snow, she helped him up without a word. When the cold wind picked up, she pulled the blanket over his shoulders too. That night, they found an old outpost, one of the human ones. Inside, it was quiet, but not empty. A skeleton sat in the corner, wearing a faded uniform with Earth's flag. Jack looked away, heart heavy. Another lost explorer. Another warning. They stayed the night there. Shared food, shared warmth. And Nia spoke again, softly. Why? Help me, she asked, her voice shaking. Jack looked at her, confused. Because you needed help. He said, that's it. Nia didn't seem to understand. Her silver eyes stared into his, searching. No one helps. No use. She said. Jack smiled a little. Well, I'm not no one. She didn't smile. But she leaned closer to the heater, and her body glowed again, brighter than before. Then she whispered something that made Jack freeze. They see me? Now? Jack leaned forward. Who? Nia's eyes went wide. The Makers, she said. The Watchers. They know the bond is alive. Jack felt a chill worse than the snow bond. He asked, what bond? Nia looked down at her wrist. The glowing mark had changed. Now it was shaped like a spiral. Pulsing slowly, she touched it and whispered, Life bond. Your gift made it grow. Jack shook his head, confused. I just gave you a blanket. She nodded. Kindness. Breaks the lock. Suddenly, a deep humming sound echoed through the air. Low and cold. Like a warning, Jack ran to the window and looked outside. Far in the distance, lights floated in the sky, not stars. Drones flying low, searching. They were coming. Jack turned back to Nia. We have to move, he said. Now, Nia stood slowly, pulling the blanket tighter around her, her skin glowing brighter. Too late, she said. They are near. Jack grabbed his gear and opened the back door. We'll lose them in the rocks. But Nia didn't follow right away. She turned to the dead human in the corner, placed her hand on his chest, then whispered something in her own language, soft and full of sorrow. Only then did she turn to Jack. I follow, she said again. They ran into the snow. He didn't know where they were going. He didn't know what waited for them, but he knew one thing: he wasn't alone anymore. And whatever had started with a simple blanket was now something far more dangerous. Behind them, the lights in the sky grew closer. And far above, in orbit, a dark ship opened its eyes. Far above the frozen planet, a dark ship floated in silence. It had no lights, no sound, and no windows. It looked dead, just another old machine lost in space. But deep inside, something had just woken up. An eye opened, red and cold. The Watchers had seen the signal. The bond had been triggered, and that was not allowed. Subject 9 has broken protocol, the voice said, flat, emotionless. Another voice replied, a human made contact. Unplanned connection, execute removal. The first voice ordered, send the seekers. Below, on the icy planet, Jack and Nia were moving fast. They ran between tall rocks where the wind couldn't reach. The snow here was softer, almost glowing under the strange sky. Jack checked his scanner. No signal, he said. Frustrated, still no comms, no team, nothing. Nia walked beside him quietly. Eyes glowing just a little. She looked calm, but her steps were faster than before. She could feel it, something watching them. They come now, she said, without looking up. Jack stopped. Who? The drones from last night. She shook her head. Worse. Suddenly, a loud sound echoed through the canyon-like metal tearing. Jack spun around, pulling his small blaster. But he couldn't see anything. Just shadows. Nia stepped in front of him. Do not fire, she whispered. They smell fear. The sound came again, closer. Jack's heart pounded. Then from the white mist stepped a tall shape, thin like a stick. Its arms too long, its face smooth like glass. Its body moved. Without sound, feet floating just above the ground. Jack raised his weapon anyway. The thing stopped, tilting its head. Another one appeared, then a third, all watching. They are seekers, Nia said softly. Hunters from the old world. The first seeker raised its hand and pointed at Nia's wrist. The glowing spiral mark now pulsed brighter, faster. Jack stepped in front of her. Back off. He shouted. He didn't know if they could understand, but he had to try. The seekers didn't move. Then one of them spoke, not with a mouth, but straight into Jack's mind. You have touched the locked one. Jack's head spun. The voice felt like a knife inside his skull. He dropped to one knee, groaning. Nia grabbed his arm, pulling him back. Run, she whispered. Now, Jack tried to stand. But the pain was strong. Nia placed her glowing hand on his head, and just like that, the pain stopped. He looked at her, shocked. What did you just do? She didn't answer. Instead, she grabbed his hand and ran. The seekers screamed, a high, sharp noise like glass shattering. And they flew after them. Jack and Nia ran through the narrow path, jumping over rocks and sliding across frozen streams. The seekers moved fast, but didn't touch the ground. They floated like shadows. Always just behind. They want me. Nia shouted over the wind. Jack growled. Then they'll have to go through me. She looked at him, eyes wide. No one ever said that before. They reached an old crash site, broken metal and burnt snow. Jack saw a downed human drone. He sprinted toward it, pulled off the broken gun mount, and aimed. The seekers came fast. Jack fired bright blue blasts, cutting through the air. One seeker dodged. The other got hit and burst into static, disappearing. But the third one kept coming. It flew straight at them like a black arrow. Then Nia stepped forward. She raised her hand. The mark on her wrist turned red, then gold, and the seeker stopped, frozen in the air. Jack watched in shock as the seeker shook, sparks flying from its body. Then it fell, crashing to the ground like a broken doll. Silence. Snow fell gently around them again. Jack breathed hard, heart racing. You stopped it, he said, amazed. Nia looked at her hand like it wasn't hers. I didn't know I could, she whispered. Until now. Jack stepped closer. Then maybe we can fight them. She didn't smile, but her eyes softened. I'm not just a tool anymore, she said. You made me. Real Jack nodded. You saved me too, he said. We stick together, high above. The dark ship in orbit blinked again. The first voice spoke. Subject 9 is unstable. Another voice replied. The human is changing her. Send. The herald, the first one, said, this bond must be broken, and in the ship's cold core. Something far worse than a seeker opened its red eyes. Asterisk, the fire crackled softly in the cave. Its light danced across the rocky walls and cast long shadows on the ground. Jack sat close to the flame, warming his hands across from him. Nia sat in silence, her silver eyes glowing gently. She hadn't spoken since they escaped the Seekers. She hadn't blinked either. It was like she was listening to something far away. Something only she could hear. Outside, the wind howled, but in the cave. It was quiet, almost too quiet. Jack finally broke the silence. What were those things? He asked. You called them Seekers. But what do they want? Kia didn't answer right away. Then, slowly, she reached into the fire. Jack's eyes widened. Nia, stop. But the flames didn't burn her. Instead, they wrapped around her hand like water. Her skin glowed gold, the fire bending toward her like it knew her. Then she spoke. They come for what I was. She said, not for what I am now. Jack frowned. What does that mean? Nia looked up, and her voice trembled. You gave me a blanket, she said. But it wasn't just cloth. It was choice. Jack blinked. Choice. She nodded. Before. I had no will, no voice, no name. I was made to serve. Made to obey. But when you gave me warmth, something woke inside me. Jack leaned forward, eyes focused. You were created. Nia looked into the fire, her reflection dancing in the flames. My people were grown in dark tanks, built by the makers. She said, we were born with no memories, no dreams, just programming. Jack felt a cold chill that had nothing to do with the snow, like machines. She nodded, but soft once machines made of life. Some call us bonded tools. Others call us ghosts. Jack clenched his fists. That's not what you are now. Nia looked at him. No, she said softly. Now I am something new. Suddenly, the flames rose higher. A low sound filled the cave, deep and ancient. Like an old song coming from the rocks. Jack stood quickly, hand on his weapon. What is that? Nia stood too, eyes wide. It's a memory, she whispered. A memory buried inside me. The fire in the middle of the cave began to spin, rising into a spiral. Inside the flame, an image appeared. It was Nia, but not Nia. Taller, wearing glowing armor, standing before hundreds of her kind. She was speaking, commanding, leading. Jack stared, shocked. You were a leader, he said. Not just a tool. Nia's voice was shaking now. I think. I was the first. The image faded, the fire calming. Jack looked at her. That's why the mark on your wrist changed, he said. It's not just a bond, it's a key. Nia nodded. The makers locked us from ourselves, she said. They feared what we could become if we ever woke up. Jack sat back down, heart heavy. And now you're awake. She sat too, across from him. But it's not just me, she said. There are others. Sleeping, waiting. Jack looked at the fire, then at her. Then we have to find them, he said. We have to wake them up. Nia reached out and touched his hand. You would help? She asked. Jack nodded without hesitation. You saved me, Nia, he said. Helping you is the right thing to do. Suddenly, the ground shook. Rocks fell from the ceiling. outside. A loud mechanical scream echoed through the mountains. Jack jumped up, grabbing his gear. What now? Nia's eyes widened in fear. They've sent him, she whispered. The herald. The fire in the cave turned blue. Nia's mark turned red again, faster, louder, like it was warning her. Jack rushed to the mouth of the cave and looked. Out far in the distance, a massive figure stood against the night sky. Tall as a tower, its chest pulsing with dark red light. It wasn't a seeker. It was something worse. It didn't float. Walked, each step left cracks in the ice. What is it? Jack asked, backing away. Nia's voice was small. It is the one that breaks bonds, she said. It comes to erase what I've become. Jack looked at her. Then we don't run. He said, we fight. Nia's eyes glowed bright gold. No, she said, we awaken. She turned toward the back of the cave, where the fire had burned the walls into a symbol, a circle inside a spiral, the same mark on her wrist. She pressed her hand against it. The wall melted like paper behind it. A dark tunnel stretched deep into the mountain. Nia looked back at Jack. There are more like me, she said. If we reach them before the herald does, we'll have a chance. Jack took a deep breath, then nodded. Let's wake them up, and together. They stepped into the dark asterisk, while behind them the herald let out a roar so powerful it shook the stars above. The tunnels were alive, not with sound, but with memory. Every step Jack took echoed like a whisper through the stone. Old lights on the walls flickered, as if trying to remember how to shine. Nia moved ahead of him, her glowing mark lighting the path like a living torch. She didn't look back. She couldn't. Behind them, the herald was coming. Slow, massive, unstoppable. But in front of them, hope maybe. The tunnel curved and opened into a huge chamber. Jack stepped through and gasped. Hundreds of pods stood like silent statues in the dark. Tall, smooth, and covered in frost. Inside each one, an alien girl, asleep, just like Nia. Had once been. They're all like you, Jack whispered, walking slowly between the pods. Nia placed her hand on one, and the mark on her wrist flashed. The pod flickered, then glowed. The girl inside stirred, her fingers twitching, eyes blinking. Open for the first time, she wakes, Nia said softly. Because I did. Jack turned to her. Can you wake them all? Nia shook her head. Not alone, she said. Their locks need to keys, one from within, one from outside. Jack frowned. Outside, like me. Nia stepped closer, took his hand. You gave me warmth, not just to my body, to my mind. Jack looked around at the sleeping figures. All those lives. Frozen, forgotten. He nodded. Then, let's bring them back. He stepped to a nearby pod and placed his hand on the glass. It was cold, but something shifted beneath his fingers. The pod lit up. The girl inside opened her eyes, just barely. Nia moved beside him, their hands together, one human, one alien touching the pod, and then it opened. Steam poured out. The girl inside collapsed into their arms. Weak and blinking, Jack caught her gently. Laying her down, she looked at Nia and whispered, you. Broke the silence. One by one, they moved through the room, waking more. Nia's glow grew stronger with each one. So did the fear in her eyes. They feel me, she said. They know I'm freeing the others. Jack nodded. Let them come. But he didn't know how soon they would. The mountain shook. Dust fell from the ceiling. Jack turned toward the tunnel. Light was pouring in, but not the warm kind. It was red, sharp, like a wound. A tall figure walked out of the light, the herald. Its head brushed the ceiling, its arms like blades, its chest glowing with a mark just like Nia's but dark. It didn't speak. It didn't need to. Nia stepped forward. Standing between the herald and the waking girls, you will not take me, she said, voice shaking. The herald raised one hand, and the floor cracked beneath her feet. Jack ran forward. Firing his blaster-bright blue light hit the herald's side, but did nothing. It turned toward him, raised its arm and then froze, its head tilted. Its eyes they were eyes looked at Jack, then at Nia. "You are not bound," it said. Its voice was metal on stone. "You are broken." Nia stepped closer. "No," she said. "I am free." The herald screamed, a sound so loud it cracked the pods nearest to him. The waking girls cried out, holding their heads. One fell back, unconscious. Jack shouted, "Nia, we have to stop it now." Nia looked at her hands, at the fire rising beneath her skin. Then she looked at Jack. "You gave me choice," she said. "Now I give it back." She stepped forward, placed her hand on the herald's chest. Her mark glowed gold. His mark turned. Red hot, they both shook, locked in some invisible battle. Nia gritted her teeth, sweat running down her face. The herald roared, trying to push her away but couldn't. Jack ran to the nearest pod, placed his hand on it. "You're not alone," he shouted. More girls woke, more lights turned on, and Nia's glow grew brighter. The herald screamed once more, then cracked. His body split down the middle like broken glass, and he fell silent, dead. Nia dropped to her knees, breathing hard. Jack rushed to her side. "You okay?" She nodded slowly, but her eyes were full of tears. "I killed my shadow," she whispered. Jack looked around at the girls, now fully awake. They were standing, blinking, looking at Nia like she was something sacred. "You're not alone anymore," he said gently, "and they want you back, but not like before." Nia stood slowly. "They want all of us," she said. "But now we're ready." Nia was not breathing, at least not in the way Jack knew. She stood still in the middle of the chamber, eyes closed, arms by her sides. The room around her pulsed with light. Soft at first, then brighter. The other girls now, awake, stood in silence, watching her, not afraid, not confused, but waiting. Waiting for something ancient, something lost. Jack stepped back, unsure what was happening. "Nia?" He called softly. "Can you hear me?" Then her eyes opened, gold and glowing. The floor beneath her cracked slightly, and the air in the chamber became warm, even comforting. Jack felt it in his chest, like standing near a sunrise. "I feel them," Nia whispered, her voice layered like many voices speaking at once. "All of them." Jack looked around. "The others?" She nodded slowly. "They were always here," she said, "sleeping, hiding. But I wasn't just the first. I was the core." Suddenly, her hands lit up with light, not fire. Not electricity, something deeper, something alive. The mark on her wrist pulsed like a heartbeat. Then, every other girl's wrist lit up to each with the same spiral. Now shining gold, they gasped in unison. Like waking from a dream inside a dream, Jack took a step forward. "What's happening to them?" Nia turned to him, smiling for the first time, not sad, not afraid, but proud. "They're becoming who they were meant to be," she said, "and it's because of you." Jack blinked. "Me? I didn't do anything special." Nia shook her head. "You did something no one else ever did," she said. "You saw me as alive." The chamber walls lit up with symbols, ancient words, glowing across stone. The girls looked around in awe, some placing their hands against the writing. And when they did, the walls responded, flashing, humming, remembering. Then a loud sound echoed through the ground deep, rising. The mountain itself began to shake. Jack steadied himself. "What now?" Nia's face turned serious. "They know I've awakened the core," she said. "The makers will send what they kept for last, the final command." Jack pulled out his blaster, checked the charge, half power. "I don't like the sound of that," he muttered. Suddenly, part of the wall opened behind them. A long bridge stretched into the darkness, lit only by soft blue lights. Nia turned to the others. "Follow," she said, her voice clear and strong now. "We go to the cradle." Jack followed them onto the bridge. The air changed again, cooler, filled with static. Like lightning was close. At the end of the bridge, they entered another chamber. This one, older. Filled with machines, floating orbs circled the room. Slowly, blinking in the center, stood a tall pillar with 3 rings spinning around it. Nia walked straight to it. "This is where I was made," she said. "And where I must choose." Jack stepped closer. "Choose what?" Nia turned to him. "The Makers left one final command in us," she said. "If we ever woke up, we were to destroy ourselves." Jack's eyes went wide. "What?" She nodded. "They were afraid of what we could become. They built us with power but made sure we could never use it fully." Jack looked at the other girls, young, scared, waiting, then back to Nia. "You can break the command." Nia placed her hands on the spinning rings. "I can try," she said. "But it will hurt." The rings glowed, the room filled with bright light. Jack had to shield his eyes. The floor shook again. Then Nia screamed just once, loud and raw. The others stepped forward, reaching for her, but Jack held up his hand. "Let her do this," he said. "She's stronger than she thinks." The light grew so bright, the whole room vanished. Then silence. When the glow faded, Nia stood tall. Her mark was gone, but in its place, her whole body now shimmered with power. The final command was broken. The other girls looked at their own hands, their marks fading too. They were free. Jack stepped closer, smiling. "You did it," he said. Nia smiled back. "No," she said. "We did." Then the ground cracked again. A voice echoed across the chamber, not from machines, but from above awakened ones. It said, "You were not made to lead. You were made to serve." Nia's eyes narrowed. "No," she said. "We were made to survive." The ceiling above them split open, and from the sky, a new enemy arrived, black, massive, crawling like a machine god. The true Maker had come, and the final war had begun. It fell from the sky like a god made of metal. The ground shook, the mountain split, and the air turned to fire. The true Maker had arrived. Not a machine, not alive, but something in between. Its voice was everywhere and nowhere. It didn't shout. It didn't scream. It whispered, "Return to your purpose." Jack stood between the rising dust and Nia, his blaster in hand, but even he knew the weapon was useless now. This wasn't a fight of flesh and steel. This was about will, about choice. The newly awakened girls gathered around Nia, silent, glowing, scared, but not running. Not this time. The Maker hovered above the chamber, its body larger than the ship. That brought Jack here. It had no face, only shifting pieces, eyes that came and went, mouths that never opened. "You were made from code," the voice said, "from dust and law. Your thoughts are not yours. Your freedom is an error." Nia stepped forward, her feet cracking the stone beneath her. She looked up, her voice firm and clear. "I am not a mistake," she said. "I am the proof you were wrong." The Maker pulsed with red light, then launched a beam of energy toward her, fast, brutal, deadly, but it stopped midair, caught by a shield of golden light, not from Nia alone, but from all the girls behind. Her hands raised. Together, Jack stared, speechless. There, protecting each other. Nia looked at him and smiled. "This is the power inside," she said. "Not war. Not control. Connection." The shield grew stronger with each girl who stepped forward. Their lights joined like stars, forming a sun. The Maker hissed, its limbs extended, metal claws swinging. It tried to smash the mountain itself, but the shield held. Jack felt something pull at him, a soft warmth. He looked down. His own body was glowing too, faint, but real. He looked at Nia, confused. Me? She nodded. You were the first light, she said. You gave us the spark. Jack stepped beside her. She reached out and took his hand. The glow between them grew. Suddenly, the sky above them cracked and human ships descended, sleek. Fast, loud, Jack's old team finally responding to his signal. They opened fire on the Maker from above. Blue beams slammed into the metal giant, slowing it, cracking parts of its limbs. The Maker turned its full attention to the sky. That was its final mistake, because, on the ground, Nia and the others raised their hands together, and a wave of golden light blasted upward. It wasn't fire. It wasn't electricity. It was freedom. The wave hit the Maker like truth hits a lie. And the creature screamed not in pain, but in fear. It was breaking. Not just its body, its purpose, its rules, its control. The metal shell split apart. And from its core, a strange blue mist escaped, fading into the sky like smoke from a dead god. The battle was over. Jack sank to his knees, exhausted. The ground stopped shaking. The air was clean again. Nia knelt beside him. Her golden light soft now, not glowing from power, glowing from peace. You did it, Jack said with a tired smile. No, she whispered. We did it, one by one. The girls looked up at the sky, at the sun slowly rising beyond the snow peaks. A new dawn. There first, later, the human rescue teams arrived. They stared in confusion at what they saw, a mountain full of glowing girls, a broken Maker scattered across the stone, and one man sitting beside the one who stopped it all. The commander stepped forward, helmet off. He looked at Jack. What happened here? Jack looked at Nia, then back at the soldiers. I offered her a blanket, he said with a grin, and she gave the universe a reason to be better. The commander didn't understand, but he didn't argue. Nia stood up. She looked at the soldiers. Then at her people. Home, she said, is not where we were made. It's where we choose to live. And so it began. Not the end, but the beginning of humans, and the bonded of healing, of peace, of something the Makers never planned for, something they never believed possible. A future made by kindness, started with a blanket, and lit by the power of one choice, to see someone not as a thing, but as a person.